Welcome to Movement, Rhythm, and Conversation, the show where we delve into the profound impact of religion, spark provoking conversation, explore the world through an open-minded perspective. I'm your host, Tafari, here to bring you engaging discussions, eye-opening stories, and conversation that pulls no punches. Whether it's faith, culture, creativity, or real-life experience, we keep it raw, honest, and unfiltered.
I was an ordained minister. I was one of the women who was at church 5, 6, 7 days a week. I preached, I did prayer services, I did all of that. And throughout that whole process, I always had this feeling that even though I was a true believer, and I really believed what I was doing, and I was trying really hard to make sure that I was in the will of God, so to speak, but throughout that whole process, I always had this struggle with depression, and I denied it for so long because I felt like depression is supposed to be of the devil, and so I kind of denied this problem that I was having. And as my depression got worse and I realized that I needed to deal with this in a professional way, some of the stuff that I started learning about what depression is and what it means, obviously it wasn't lining up with what I was learning from church. Well, what the church is telling Black women about mental health, or one of the common themes again, is that they should be able to feel happy and mentally stable if they're truly dedicated to God and if they're truly doing everything that they're supposed to be doing. So continuing to struggle with depression suggests that she's doing something wrong, suggests that she has some sin in her life, suggests that she's not praying enough or not fasting enough, or something is wrong on her end, or maybe there's a demon affecting her life in some sort of way. So when you're constantly being told that if you're still struggling with depression, you must be doing something wrong, and not getting the support that they need. They're not, when they go talk to the other ministers or the pastors in the church, they're not told, maybe you should try antidepressant, maybe you should go talk to a professional, come sit down, let me see if I can support you. They're not given that type of support. They're instead told, you need to pray some more, you need to fast some more, you don't need to go to a professional. That's worldly.
That was Candace R.M. Gorham, author of The Ebony Exodus Project. In the quiet corners of the Black church, beneath the rhythm of Sunday morning praise and the echo of organ chords, lies a deeply unsettling truth. Religion has become a sanctuary not for healing, but for hiding. The Black woman, both young and old, find herself caught in a web woven for generational trauma, systemic neglect, and a spiritual doctrine that promised salvation while delivering control. It's often said that there are two types of Black women in America, the young and broke and the old and broken. That's not just a saying, it's a reflection of what white supremacy, the legacy of slavery, and ongoing systemic oppression has inflicted on our sisters. The young Black woman is broke emotionally, spiritually, and financially, often coming from fractured homes, enduring generational curses, and navigating a world that sees her as anything but valuable. The older Black woman is broken, carrying years of wounds, betrayal, and survival that she has tucked under her Sunday hat and buried beneath gospel songs. Religion, especially Christianity, does not offer true healing to either. What it provides is a numbing agent, a spiritual sedative, a temporary escape disguised as eternal truth. Instead of seeking licensed therapy, emotional support, or psychological treatment, many Black women turn to the pulpit for relief. But the pulpit doesn't heal. It pacifies. It doesn't challenge trauma. It spiritualizes it. And worse, it often weaponizes it. The predator preacher, a wolf in tailored suits, doesn't care about a woman's healing. He cares about her loyalty, her tithes, her submission. He doesn't want her hold. He wants her dependent. The broken woman is easier to manipulate, shame, and cultivates fear-based obedience. That was a couple of chapters from my book, People of the Mystic. Welcome back to Movement, Rhythm, and Conversation, the space where truth meets tradition, and we unpack what others are afraid to say. I'm your host, Tafari, and today we're diving into a topic that cuts deep but needs to be said out loud. Faith over healing, how religion preys on the broken Black woman. Let's get into it.
If we want to start seeing some true healing, particularly amongst our sisters, particularly amongst our mothers, I would say one of the things that need to go in the so-called Black community is the Black church. It must be wiped out. It must be pushed into non-existence, particularly in religious spaces where you have a lot of these, you have women who are scarred, and haven't been healed. And so what they do is they believe that by holding up the Bible and every other word that they say out of the Bible, it's just, I'm a hide behind his word, and you think that this is covering up those scars.
The young Black woman is broke, not just financially, but emotionally and spiritually too. She's trying to find herself in a world that never really saw her. And the older Black woman, she's often broken, carrying wounds, regret, and unhealed trauma, buried beneath a sharp church hat and a tambourine. And who steps in when she's vulnerable? Not a therapist, not a support group. Nope, more often than not, it's the preacher man. But not just any preacher. I'm talking about the predator preacher, the kind that feeds on brokenness, the kind that doesn't want to heal you, because a healed woman doesn't need him. He doesn't want you whole. He wants you dependent. He wants you to remain confused, obedient, and filled with fear disguised as faith. Instead of receiving professional help, Black women are given Jesus instead of therapy. They're handed a Bible instead of practicing self-love. They're told to sacrifice and suffer in all the name of righteousness. And instead of being told to heal, they're told to hold on, wait on the Lord, suppress every natural desire they have as a woman. It's not salvation, it's sedation. And what happens next? The same brokenness is passed down. The older Black woman teach her daughter that being silent is sacred, that pain has purpose, that waiting for a man sent by God is better than building a genuine connection with a man who truly sees you. She teaches suffering as a virtue and obedience as love. We're not raising healed women. We're recycling pain. And then we expect those same women to have healthy relationships. How can you build love when the foundation is trauma, when your heart is guarded by scriptures instead of self-worth? When is every man either not God sent or a test from the Lord? By the time a good man shows up, she's too guarded, too hurt, and too programmed to even recognize him. Let me be real with my brothers out there. We're being asked to build relationships with women who have been emotionally manipulated, spiritually confused, and psychologically neglected. And unless we've done our own healing, it becomes a battlefield, not a partnership. But none of this is an attack on Black women. This is a call for freedom. Black women deserve more than just faith. They deserve healing. They deserve therapy. They deserve self-reflection. They deserve to break the cycle. But religion has a vested interest in keeping them broken, because a broken woman pays tithes. She's more likely to volunteer. She serves. She prays. She obeys. And most importantly, she stays. Now imagine if she walked away from the altar and into a therapist's office. Imagine she stopped begging God to fix her and start reclaiming her mind. Imagine if she saw herself not as a servant of religion, but as a sacred being she already is. That's when the real healing begins. Not in the pews, not in the shouting, not in the laying of the hands, but in the choice to love herself fully, freely, and without permission. The cycle of spiritual sedation must be broken. The next generation of Black daughters deserve something we were never given: the permission to be whole, not just holy. Thank you for tuning in to Movement, Rhythm, and Conversation with me, the host, Tafari. If this episode stirred something up in you, sit with it, share it, talk about it. Let's keep the conversation going. Healing starts with truth, and truth lives here. Until next time, stay conscious, stay bold, and stay free.